Good morning. He's coming right now, earlier than usual. So he's here.
Okay. Shall we do this?
Yep.
All right. Uh-oh.
Hi. Do you hear me? How's the microphone today?
Hello.
Thank you, Jim. Great. Yeah. Thank you, David.
Okay. Almost. Just a second.
Good morning. Great. Thank you so much.
These things here. Almost ready. Just let me put these over here.
Hi, Sean. Good morning.
So, here we are again. Good morning, everyone. Everything okay with the this? Yes. All right. 1 second. This here. So, good morning again, and welcome back, all of you who are here. And once again, time has just flown by. We are still in the midst of the pandemic. Those few places have it under control. The bulk of the world actually does not have it under control. So today we will, here we go. I'm just trying to get my notes in order, which seem to be more of a mess every week that I do this. Somehow it's, I don't know if it's pandemic fatigue or whatever, but somehow I can't get my notes in order. But I will try the best I can. So of course, the world is experiencing at least 1 million new cases of COVID-19 every day for the past week. It's just crazy. And the United States, over 2,000 fatalities. So we are actually in total at a time that we were in April. It's very, very discouraging. But the light at the end of the tunnel is simply that there are vaccines which seem to be very effective, and hopefully there are efficient ways to actually get them out throughout the whole world, actually, this way. But I will talk just about just a couple things, because while all of this is happening with the pandemic, We have this circus in the United States where we have a president who still is insisting that there's tremendous voter fraud. And the question, of course, despite all the evidence to the contrary and all the ridiculous kind of so-called supporting evidence which the administration and the re-election campaign, etc., has tried to pull together with very comical results. Despite all of this, it still insists on this. Now, and this is not only dangerous, it's also interesting. And I see it myself as it's like a combination of just grift, you could say, corruption, and these noble lies, which are actually ignoble lies. And what these ignoble lies highlight. Can you hear me? Actually, can you hear me well? Am I too soft? I'm too soft? People, it's okay? Tell me if I'm too soft. We wonder whether this mic is actually working or not. Is it the same or different now? What do people think? We just turn the mic off and just have the full...
Same.
It's the same. So I fear that our new, very nice looking microphone, I'll show it to you here, is not working perhaps. You want to try it again and see if it is, yeah?
My voice is louder than yours.
Aha, even with this. Yeah, let's do something else though. Let's do this. And see, and hold it a second. Let's try that. I can't believe it. I have to do this. I'm sorry. Put this on here. Yeah. Okay. Does it work now? Yes. Okay. Hopefully it will stay. Good. I'm not sure what I did. Anyway, okay. So, as I said, these ignoble lies, now they're lies of things like we must make America great, for instance. That America is exceptional. That it also lies that we have to do everything possible not to descend into socialism. All of these things, these are all these sort of buzzwords, I guess, which have emotional meanings and actually don't mean anything but carry great, I should say, weight in terms of convincing people about certain things. Okay. So I will be talking more and more about the dangers of culture and how, as musicians, we have to stand against this danger of the abuse of culture. Now, why is this happening? This I don't understand. is is my other phone here? Perhaps. Yeah. I think that we have to put that on. Turn that off. Yeah. Excuse me. It needs my face. Ooh. Oh, it even needs my password. Not like won't even work with my face. Okay. And then I just put it here. Turn the whole thing off. Okay. Good. That should be all right. I hope. Here. So, just a little bit of more news. So, the Trump campaign has, since the election, has raised over $207 million for this vote recalls, for recounts, for basically for uncovering what this is voter fraud. But I mentioned this before, but this is really coming to the fore now. And this was in the New York Times. We have this. This said Mr. Trump's campaign apparatus. No? What's that? Has continued to aggressively solicit donations under the guise of supporting his various legal challenges to the election of Joseph Biden. But as of now, 75% of those donations go to a new political action committee that Mr. Trump formed, and 25% to the Republican Party. And it was reported that only if a donor gives more than $6,000 to those funds will any percentage of those funds go to the so-called formal recount account. So basically, what he's doing is just classic kind of grift or classic snake oil sales or something of that sort to do this. And it seems that this whole process, this whole comedy, this whole circus that we've been seeing has a very basic raison d'etre, and that is to just raise money for that. That's all. For other things, not for. It's remarkable, but it is very dangerous, and the cultural divisiveness, I should say better, that this has fostered is something that will take in any case a long time to repair, and may end up with catastrophic results. There's also been a lot of talk in the news about it's kind of parallels between what is happening now with this Stop the Steal, I should say, campaign, and what took place in Germany after the First World War, and that was called the Dolchstoßlegende, or stab in the back myth, where certain people who had led the country into war, and I talked about the sort of I would even say bumbling process that led to the First World War. There's this which had to, in fact, involve very few people who had great prejudices and had very limited dialogues or trialogues with between them. And there were this misunderstanding led to this misunderstanding, and then you had, of course, Armageddon, basically. Okay, but the stab in the back myth, I understand, yes, but it's okay. We need everything this way. Was the claim that, in fact, Imperial Germany did not lose the war, but was prematurely taken out of the war this way, and suffered this very unjust humiliation. And of course, that also ended with very catastrophic results, and I can't believe there will be anything similar to that. But inside the United States, there is already this terrible division, and already there are groups of people, there's social media who regardless of everything, state that no, in fact, Trump should have won. He did win, but the so-called deep state meddled in the election, and that's why Biden actually came out with more votes. Okay, perhaps enough of that right now. Although we'll see how it plays out in the next week, and whether it warrants more detailed criticism. I have one more thing before we continue, and we will get back to the topic at hand, which was close to 1918, actually. And you have to understand also that the end of the First World War corresponded to the onset of the pandemic, of swine flu pandemic of 1918, 1919, 1920. So there are many parallels, in fact, to this. Okay, but this is a very nice article that I read, and it has to do with Japan. I got some kind of a look back there. And that has to do with the fact that the oldest surviving companies in the world are in Japan, and it highlighted one company, which we called Ichiwa in Kyoto, which sells this mochi. This is this rice cake. This is usually sweetened rice cake. And that store was founded in the year 1000. At that time, there was also a pandemic. And the family who founded this started it to provide refreshments for the travelers who were coming to Kyoto to ask for supernatural relief from the pandemic. And what is remarkable is that this business, this little store, has remained in business since 1000 to this very day. What's the matter? Is there something?
I don't hear you.
You don't hear me now?
What?
Can you hear me now? It's all right. So I think our microphone.
No, it's fine.
It's all right. Yeah. I guess we're going to have to further upgrade everything. Yes. Well, we'll see how we continue. Now the question of that is why, and this is something that I'm not going to talk about now particularly, but I will later, and it had to do with, as the Times put it, putting tradition and stability over profit and growth. So in other words, yes. We can put that away though. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it stopped. Yeah. That's another kind of grift trying to happen. That phone call, I'm sure. Now, I was been mumbling, I believe, but the concept of putting tradition and stability over profit and growth. So in other words, the fundamental tenet of capitalism is that we must have growth all the time. The economy has to grow, everything has to grow, rather than have a state that stays. And that, I think, in view of this pandemic and the economic devastation which it may cause, very much because of the I would say the concept, the idea that economies must grow, that has to be reconsidered and is being reconsidered now, that these very old businesses which have survived pandemics, have survived epidemics, have survived wars, have survived natural devastation, really show that if you emphasize stability that you actually can continue and persevere. So, enough of that. Finally, you think, yeah, that's right. And we go now back to 1913, right before the First World War. It says, a time of incredible, I would say, cultural flowering. It's perhaps a kind of explosion of cultural newness, of innovation in culture especially, which the world had never seen before and hasn't seen since. There. And I promised that I would talk about Alban Berg and his remarkable 4 pieces, Opus 5. Okay. This requires a bit of introduction, I would say. And we have to go back to the 31st of March 1913, and that was a concert in Vienna, Musikverein, which has been labeled the scandal concert. There were two scandals in 1913. Later on, there was the scandal in Paris involving Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. But these two scandals were very different. Now, the scandal for the Rite of Spring was, happened the very first day, the first performance of the Rite of Spring on the 29th of May. And what has never been really brought to the attention of the I would say casual devotee of new music or whatever, was that the second day of the performance was a great triumph. The first day there were these cabals who actually interrupted and did things, but this scandal was nothing like the scandal that happened in Vienna. And actually to look at that concert, we have to actually start with another concert. And that was on the 23rd of February in 1913, and it was the first performance of Schoenberg's Gurlieder. Again in the Musikverein. This was under the direction of Schoenberg's friend and this very good composer Franz Schrecker, and it was a tremendous success. But Schoenberg, who was the contrarian that he refused to accept the applause because he felt that the Viennese audiences, no matter what, even if they applauded this piece, which at the time was actually, even though this was the first performance of Gurlieder, Schoenberg considered was, I would not say dated, but conservative from him. And the public in Vienna did not really appreciate new music. So Schoenberg refused to acknowledge the plaudits that were coming his way, etc., etc. And what happened then in the next concert, which was the concert on March 31st, is that organized groups of people, of audience, let's say, who came in the concert, came specifically to sabotage the concert. The concert actually was rather quickly put together, I have to say, and it had Anton Webern's 6 pieces for orchestra on it, Alexander von Zemlinsky's 4 orchestral songs, the Schoenberg First Chamber Symphony, that's also an early work of Schoenberg, of course, Opus 9, but 2 of the songs by Alban Berg from his 5 songs from the Peter Altenberg, this Opus 4. This is Opus 4. This is important because Opus 4, this is what's called the Altenberg Lieder. And there was also a scheduled performance of Mahler's Kindertotenlieder on that program. That's kind of a nice program, I must say. But it was during the third that they did 2 of the songs of Berg's Altenberg Lieder. That's just numbers 2 and 3 this way. And during the third song, there was tremendous rioting began, And I'll read this here. It says, amid the unrest, the concert organizer, Erhard Buschbeck, was said to have slapped a concert goer in the face. And there was such mayhem, apparently, that the police had to be called and the concert was called off. So, of course, Kindertotenlieder was not performed on that concert. And unlike the Rite of Spring, where we actually had a second performance, then you had a third performance, it went through its complete scheduled run, and all the other performances were great triumphs. That this concert was not repeated, and Berg was very, very traumatized by what happened in that concert. Remember, this is Opus 4. And it turns out, and I'm just reading here because I forgot the exact date, that the Altenberg Lieder were not actually performed during Berg's lifetime, and not until 1952. And the actual score, full score, did not appear in print until 1966. Then, so remarkable pieces, and I actually want to play just the third of these songs. This is the song when all the mayhem began, I would say. Let me come here and see if I can actually do this. Let me take this back here. You see, I'm not organized. Once again. Here. We should go here. Just in case. Oh, that's wrong. I have to put the right here. Sure, there's better ways to do that. Okay, good. But this seems to be working. Okay, I believe. Yeah, these gekommen. Just make sure that I'm actually the right one. No, I'm on 4. I have to be on 3. Yeah, here it is. Okay, here we have it. I would mention this is a performance by Jesse Norman and Pierre Boulez with the London Symphony. And let's hope that this works. was a fragment of that. Yeah, I know. It's a wonderful song, but it's very, very much as it began. I would say that all the booing and the mayhem started, and I want to just do one thing now. Let me see if I have that someplace. Not here.
Go back, that's the picture.
What's that? I have to do, yeah, here. This is it. And just to show, this is,
Can you
here, I will,
do you have in your iPad same picture?
oh gosh. I don't think, yeah, this is what's stupid.
Okay, so
I don't
then
have.
I have more.
Here. Here, let's try that.
Close.
Okay.
Even close.
Do you see it? I'm sorry that I put it in the wrong thing. It's, I can't do that.
It's crazy.
Yeah, okay, let's try it. Okay, here. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. All right.
Can you explain what was that?
What's that? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Explain what was it?
This is just was in the newspaper about
On that
about the
that
concert. Yeah, the scandal concert. Yeah.
That's
Yes, we have that there. It's just kind of a cute little, quite something. Okay. So Oberg was traumatized by this, but he was, I would say, he was not defeated. And he turned from writing this, although Altenberg Lieder was very short, very they're kind of like aphorisms, each of these songs. The orchestration is large, and the whole sonic effect is very Roger, yes, can you? Yeah, okay. The sonic effect is very colorful, very amazing. So he turned from this Opus 4 to his smallest work, and that is these 4 pieces for clarinet and piano, Opus 5. And I look at these pieces as a remarkable, even snapshot of what was happening. I would say of the artistic concerns of the time. This in this piece, Berg probes the very essence of what music is, what expression is, and also of what time is. And then, of course, I'm prejudiced a bit, since I do play the clarinet and the piano, 2 of the instruments that it's written for. Am I mumbling now again? No. Okay, that's it. So, what should I mention now? Yes, he did show these pieces to Arnold Schoenberg, and Schoenberg was very critical. This is actually kind of another blow to Berg. Schoenberg felt that they were too epigrammatic, that they somehow didn't hang together as pieces, that he thought that he should write in more established forms in a certain way. And Berg then took that to heart. And the piece after that is Opus 6, was completely different. It's also another remarkable work. Everything that Berg wrote was remarkable. That piece was his 3 pieces for orchestra, Opus 6, which involved a huge orchestra, very extended piece, and in a certain sense, much more traditional was much more traditional in terms of form of the work. So I just want to play a little bit of that as well. I'm going to play, and probably not the whole thing also. Okay, let me find it here. Okay. There are 3 movements to it. There's a prelude. There's this Regen. It's a Reigen, I guess. It's not Reigen. That's which is a kind of round dance, and a march at the end. I will not play you the whole thing, but just a bit of it. I hope I'm in the right place, and I hope that this is working still. Sorry, it's not quite. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, it's here. That's what I want. I'm sorry. goes on for a while, but it's very, I mean, the whole work is very remarkable. But we can hear this as, in a certain sense, as a continuation. Let's say the next step in what could be the Wagnerian tradition. See, and it's that. So you can hear that in the phrase lengths, things like this. Everything, the episodic nature of the piece. Very different from the four pieces, and very different from before that, the Ottenberg Lieder. But the originality of the four pieces is something which I think is very, very special in that. And so I will hopefully actually show what I'm talking about. I did want to play one more thing though before, and because here we go. 1 second. It's here. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. I don't mean that. Here. Yeah, and the four pieces of Berg were not the first or I should say the only of these kind of so-called epigrammatic pieces which the students of Schoenberg wrote. And you have before him, in 1910 I believe even, the Opus 7 violin pieces of Anton Webern. And I play them just to actually contrast these very terse, very compact works of Webern with these four pieces of Berg, which are in a certain sense terse, compact, but in another way are tremendously extensive. So in other words, they are not by any means miniatures, but they are like large works which have been somehow compressed. Anyway, okay, so I just do this, and hopefully this is right. Okay, I'll play all of them because it's only 4 minutes of music. So here we go. This is, I should mention, this is a performance by Gidon Kremer and Oleg Meisenberg. that's that. So these are the 4 pieces of Webern, Opus 7. Let's roll this away. And leave this here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Berg was somehow influenced by them, in fact. But they are finally tremendously different. Okay, so I guess now is the time to begin to take a look at these fantastic pieces. Okay, and that I will actually go to the piano. I think I will. I'm not sure whether I'll play anything on the clarinet or not, but I should get prepared for that. Okay, we get together here and move this away. I think I take this clarinet just in case. This is a good one for Berg. I'm going to put both of these over here so I don't knock them over. Over here? No. Should make it a little higher. No. Oops.
Sorry.
I wonder what that sounded like. Okay. So the question I have now, actually, maybe we turn on that light over there. I wonder if it's a little dark. I feel a little dark myself. Okay. So, how are we? How is my... Can people hear all right? Am I too soft? It's okay. Good. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to look at this piece in terms of Berg's psychology, the fact that Berg was very interested in numerology and mysticism, etc. I'm just going to look at them as I would say pieces of music this way, and show how great originality, just as I showed before with Stravinsky, came from a rethinking of tradition, right? Rethinking and of an awareness of history. Okay, now the first thing I just goes very simply, it's in 4 movements, and you have the first movement, Mäßig, then the second movement here is slower, sehr langsam, sehr rasch is the third movement, and the 4th movement is langsam as well, but is very, I would say, for this piece rather massive. In that way, you can say that it resembles a four-movement sonata or symphony, whatever, which again has a first movement, slow movement, a scherzo, and a finale. And we see how these connect, in fact, in this way. And so that's a first observation about this. And what I like to do is what I call kind of informal analysis. So I don't, I'm not a big fan of graphs about all this stuff. Mathematical deconstructions and things like that, but just as kind of looking at them as a performer and sort of imbibing what is there. And there's quite a lot. Now, we take the first movement, and I'm going to spend some time on this, and I think that I'm not going to get very far today. So I'm sure that I'm going to have to do this, continue this next week. I did a series of articles with again, they ended up in Japanese, so it's a little bit complicated, but it turned out to be a 9-article set. In other words, over a period of 9 months. I'm not going to spend 9 of these on this, although I could easily spend probably more, in fact, because as I looked at them now, I found even more than I had explained in those 9 articles about things. Okay, but I come to the first movement again, and just looking at it here, we see that what Berg is doing is he is concerned with sort of exploring the very basics of what music is. And I'll explain that. First of all, music as kind of organized sound, we could say, has 4 basic parameters. One parameter is, let's say, rhythm or tempo, the rhythmic motion of these. Another parameter is dynamics, going from soft to loud. Another parameter is range, low to high pitch there. And the final parameter that we have is just the 12 notes. That make up, at least in Western music, what we use to actually create music there. There have been attempts at working into microtones, etc., and I will talk about microtones at some point, because this is something that I've become more and more fascinated with, and the whole sense of hearing divisions which are less than a semitone, and then constructing this. I would say pieces where the microtones are not simply ornamentation, but are actually intrinsic to the actual piece. Okay, but for Berg there were 12 tones. So the question in this piece is, what creates a piece of music? Yeah. And how does a piece move from beginning to end, we can say. So how does completion happen? Now, I talked about this before, so the people who know that, please be kind to me. I would say I'm repeating myself, but I'm sure that there are some people who are listening who have not heard my harangue about these 4 parameters. Am I okay? I'm not mumbling. Right. So let's take one parameter, which has to do with range. What Berg does after the beginning, he starts in the middle, basically, of the piano range. This E here, and then he goes going in just half steps around, and little by little he gets larger and larger and larger as he goes down farther to here, and then going to here, and together going higher, and then again down farther, and then move farther down to E flat, and the clarinet in the meantime moves all the way up to the D here, and then it goes down to that D, and finally ends at the very boundaries of the tonal spectrum, I should say. Here and here, with the middle here and there. So he starts in the middle and spreads to the end, and when he comes to the edge of, we can call it, let's say, the tonal universe, he finds that it's over. Okay, the second parameter is dynamics. And here he starts softly, and then gets louder until finally we have this big moment here. This way, and then it gets softer and 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 softer, until the sound just stops. And that's moves through the second parameter. Now the third is rhythm or tempo. And here again we start in rather normal way. I'm going to be talking more about exactly the rhythms in the beginning. But, that's that. It's okay. Then gains tempo, yeah, and at the end slows down. Oh, I forgot that I actually have some of these things. Let me take a look if I have something that's interesting here. No, I have other things. I have this. I'll show you all here. Yeah, that's it. I don't need this. This is good. So he goes and he gets slower. Along with it, slower and slower and slower and slower and slow. Until again it stops. So he goes through each of these parameters to their completion. In other words, to sort of the edge of each universe. What I can say. They're very, very fascinating. I want to just show you this because this is I made many diagrams but here we can see here, okay, how starts in the middle and goes all the way there. Okay, I'm still missing one parameter, and that is the 12 tones. So we start, let's say, just with one tone here, even though I don't count this beginning of the clarinet with the clarinet part, this introduction. But let's say we start with that E in the middle. By the time we reach the end, he's actually gone through all 12 tones. And I will show them to you here. First I'll play them. I play this an octave lower, but so we have that. Well, even I'll play it here, maybe it's even a little better. So we have here, and we have this, and we have this, 9 tones, and that leaves 3 more. So then we have the B as the last one, and right before this happens, as he moves in the piano part here, and there we get our 12 tones. So I will show you in the music here. If you can see this, it's on just the starting here, okay, and you can see here E flat and C sharp, D flat. Can you see that? It's all right. And then going on, things go here. You have the G in the clarinet, and that connects with these notes here. F sharp, there, and your C there, of course. Then we have these, this to here, the final B. Okay. So he completes the 12 tones also. Now let's look at something else in this piece. And there's a lot, but I just want to say the opening here as we go. Okay, there we have the C and the E. And what I will show is that the piece as a whole really has a sense of C major as a tonic. Yeah. And so we have here, and we have our G at the end of the piece, you see. There, but what we also have at the end, we have the G in the and the B. And the D before that, low. So we have this fantastic sense of moving from a tonic to a dominant. Okay, and if we take the last movement of this piece, it's basically in C. So underneath all of these other things is a very traditional understanding of tonality in Western music. And what time is it now? I can't see. I see. Okay. I think perhaps I go on just a little bit. I think. Or, you know, and just pick out again this C major. So here we have again the fourth movement. And then the piano. So again, he forms everything around this C. That way. Okay, keep that in mind for next week. And what I want to do now is just play. Unfortunately, I can't play here because I don't have a pianist to play with, but I do have a video, and I would like to play that for everyone. Okay. And let me. Sorry. You see, this is not at all professional. And we should move this over too. Oh God, this is. Wouldn't it be nice to have a whole camera crew and whole everything here, not this. But anyway, I think this is here. Okay, I want to check this again. This is there. Okay. Yeah, every time we stop for a little while, it disconnects. So I just have to make sure that this is right. Good. Everything seems all right. And I do this. with that, thank you all. I will be back next week with more Berg. Bye-bye now.